This is the second exit card that we took this quarter. This one was about adding and subtracting with decimals. And there are different types of questions on here. There are questions that test whether students know to line up the decimal, whether you guys know how to borrow and regroup, and whether you guys can place a decimal in a whole number. So these first ones, you see the decimals are in a different part of the number, so it's testing whether you can line up the decimal. So the first thing that you do for this exit card is estimate. This is about 15 plus 3 is about 18. That's what I would estimate. Then you can actually calculate 15.4 plus 3.32, and I lined up the decimal because you have to add the same size units. So tenths and tenths, ones and ones, tens and tens, hundredths and hundredths. And I added a 0 just to even things out because it doesn't change the value of the number, but it helps with the addition process and especially with the subtraction process. So now we have 0 and 2 is 2, 4 and 3 is 7, 5 and 3 is 8, and 1 and nothing is 1. And then I check, are these pretty close together? Yes, I rounded to the nearest one and it's within 1 of my estimate, so I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Next we have about 15 minus 3, so that's going to be somewhere around 12. And again, I need to line up my decimals. 15.42 minus 3.3. And I'm going to go ahead and add a 0 in my hundredths place here. 2 minus nothing is 2. 4 minus nothing is 1. 5 minus 3. Did I say 4 minus 3 is 1? 5 minus 3 is 2. And 1 minus nothing is 1. So we get 12.12, 12 and 12 hundredths, which is very close to 12. So we're going to go ahead and check that off. So those, there was no carrying, there was no borrowing, no regrouping. Very simple, you just had to know to line up the decimal. This is where it gets a little bit harder. These have the same number of digits and we don't have to worry about the decimal, it just lines up naturally, but there will be regrouping, borrowing, carrying. So this is about 27 plus 13, which is 40. And I know that because I know my pairs that add up to 10. I know that 7 and 3 makes 10. And so for me, that's a pretty easy thing to do in my head. But if it's harder for you to do in your head, you might have chosen an easier way to estimate, like 30 plus 10 is about 40. And when I calculate, I do 26.75 plus 13.49. Add 5 and 9 makes 14, but I can't fit 2 digits in my hundredths place, so I carry the 1. 7 and 4 is 11, and 1 is 12. Carry the 1. 6 and 3 is 9, and 1 is 10. Carry the 1. And 2 and 1 is 3, and 1 is 4. So we have 40.24, very close to my estimate. Go ahead and check that off. Now this is about 27 minus 13. So that would be, it's a little bit harder to do in my head. It's like 30 minus 10, so it's around 20. Ooh, it shouldn't actually be that close to that though, so maybe around 13, 14. I'm going to go with 14. Or you could say it's about 25 minus 13. However you want to do it. Just keep in mind that the rougher your estimate, the less likely that it'll be really close to your calculation. 26.75 minus 13.49. I can't do 5 minus 9, so I'll have to borrow. So I'm going to say this is 15, and this is 6. Took a 1 away. 15 minus 9 is 6. 6 minus 4 is 2. 6 minus 3 is 3, and 2 minus 1 is 1. 13.26 is within 1 of my estimate, and I actually ended up estimating closely because I am uncomfortable with large estimates if I can solve it in my head, so it's close enough to my estimate that it makes me comfortable. And there are 2 more questions on this exit card. These are a whole number and a number with a decimal, so when I estimate, this is about 204 plus 8, which would be about 212. So 204 plus 7.86. Well, how do we line up the decimal? Ones go with ones. We have 4 ones and 7 ones, so they line up. And that means that the 8.86, the 8600s, go over here. And I can add 0.00 to even it out. It's like saying $204 plus $7.86. Add. Nothing in 6 is 6. Nothing in 8 is 8. 4 and 7 is 11. That's 1 and 2. 211.86 is really close to 212. So my estimate checks out. This is about 204 minus 8, so like 96. It's going to line up the same way. 7.86. Adding these zeros becomes more important when you're subtracting. I can't take 6 away from nothing, so I'm going to have to borrow, but I can't borrow from nothing, so I'm going to have to borrow. So let's turn this into a 3, and this into a 10. Then I can borrow from that. That becomes a 9, that becomes a 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. 9 minus 8 is 1. Oh, I can't do 3 minus 7. I'm going to have to borrow. I can't borrow from nothing. I'm going to have to borrow. Or you could just say I'm borrowing from 20, and it'll be 19. And that's 13. 13 minus 7 is 6. And 19 minus nothing is 19. 196. Oh, my estimate should have been 196. See, this is what my estimate is for, to check my work. My calculation ended up being more accurate than my estimate because I was thinking 104 minus 8 instead of 204 minus 8. 204 minus 8 is 196, not 96. Now they check out. Now I can put a check mark. So this estimate and the calculation, very important for checking your work. If that helps me to just make sure. Sometimes, yeah, it's the estimate that was wrong, but it gives you that second glance at your work to make sure that you've put in the effort to make sure it's the correct answer. And if you're ready to retake this, the exit card will be very similar style of questions, but of course, different numbers. Let me know if you're ready.